A small hand pressed against the cold window glass. A few seconds of silence. Then the unimaginable happened. The wild Bobcat raised her front paw and placed it directly opposite, separated by only a thin pane of glass. Two creatures from different worlds found their connection point in their shared loneliness. That winter was particularly harsh in the small wooded community outside Bend, Oregon. Snow piled high against window sills, and forest paths disappeared beneath white blankets that would remain until spring's slow arrival. For most children, winter meant sledding, snowball fights, and hopes of school cancellations. For 9-year-old Olivia Bennett, this winter meant isolation. What had started as a simple cold in early January had rapidly developed into influenza and then pneumonia. By the time the doctors had gotten it under control, Olivia had missed 3 weeks of school and was under strict orders to remain home for at least 2 more. Her small body needed time to recover, they said. Her lungs were still fragile. Olivia's room was on the 2nd floor of the wooden house her family had moved into just 6 months earlier when her father, Robert, took a new position with the local forestry company. It was a cozy room with a large window that looked out over the backyard and the distant pine forest. Previously, Olivia had loved this window for the natural light that streamed in, perfect for drawing, her favorite activity. Now it became her only escape from growing boredom and loneliness. Her mother, Sarah, worked remotely 3 days a week, but was frequently busy with calls and deadlines. Her father had to go to work all day. They tried their best to make Olivia comfortable, bringing lunch up to her room, checking her temperature, and buying new books, but nothing replaced going to school, seeing friends, or simply playing outside. Just 3 more days until your next checkup, her mother reminded her as she brought up lunch, chicken soup, and star-shaped toast, a small effort to brighten Olivia's day. Dr. Hayes might let you go back to school early if your lungs are improving. Olivia just nodded, not wanting to hope too much. Last week, the doctor had said, her recovery was slower than expected. She knew she still couldn't climb the stairs without getting winded. After her mother left, Olivia listlessly pulled her desk closer to the window. At least, she could look out at the world, watching the snow and the small birds that occasionally perched on the maple branch near her window. She spent hours drawing them, capturing the smallest details, how the light shone through their feathers or how they fluffed up to stay warm in the cold. On Wednesday afternoon, as the pale winter sun began to retreat behind distant mountains, Olivia noticed an unusual movement among the low pine trees and bare maple bushes. Something larger than a bird moved with a grace she had never seen before. She squinted, trying to peer through the deepening shadows. Then she stepped into the light. A bobcat, much smaller than Olivia had imagined, perhaps just a young one with distinctive golden brown, spotted fur and black-ointed ears, moved cautiously, stopping at the edge of the cleared area, observing the us. Olivia's heart beat faster. They had learned about local wildlife at school, and she knew bobcats were relatively common in Oregon, though they rarely approached houses. The animals' fur gleamed in the last rays of sunlight, a golden brown like pine wood. Pine, Olivia thought instantly. Her name would be Pine. As if, sensing her presence, The bobcat looked up straight at Olivia's window. She held her breath. Perhaps the bobcat couldn't see her through the reflective glass, but Olivia had the strange feeling that she was looking right at her, observing her just as intently as Olivia was observing her. For a minute, maybe two, they looked at each other like this, the small bobcat and the sick girl, each in their own world, but somehow connected. Then a sound somewhere in the forest startled the bobcat. She glanced over her shoulder and in an instant disappeared into the darkness. For the first time in many days, Olivia felt a flutter of excitement. She grabbed her sketchbook and began drawing from memory. The alert eyes, the angular head, the short tail. She couldn't wait to tell her mother about this. But when Sarah brought dinner up, Olivia hesitated. Parents tended to worry about things like bobcats near the house. What if her mother called wildlife services and they took Pine away? Or worse, what if they thought she was dangerous? Drawing something new? Her mother asked. Glancing at the sketchbook, Olivia quickly flipped to a previous page with a sparrow drawing. Just the usual birds. That night, Olivia had trouble sleeping, not from coughing as in previous nights, but from excitement. She wondered if Pine would return the next afternoon at the same time she got her answer. Pine came back a bit bolder, this time approaching closer to the house. She stopped at the same spot, looking up at the window where Olivia sat waiting. "Hello, Pine," she whispered, though she knew the bobcat couldn't hear through the double-paned glass. "You came back." Over the next 3 days, a pattern formed. Around 4 p.m., as daylight began to fade, Pine would appear at the forest edge. Each day she came a little closer, seeming increasingly comfortable with the area around the house. Olivia researched bobcats on her tablet, learning about how they lived and hunted. She was impressed that they were mainly solitary animals, rarely seeking contact with their own kind, except during mating season. "Maybe you're lonely, too," she said to her stuffed pillow, resting her chin on the windowsill as she watched Pine weave between the young shoots. On the 4th day, Olivia decided to do something bold. When her mother brought lunch up, she asked for extra chicken. "Hungrier? That's a good sign." Her mother smiled, obviously pleased. Olivia's appetite had diminished since she'd been sick. After her mother went downstairs, Olivia took the leftover chicken pieces, placed them in a napkin, and carefully opened the window just a crack enough to slide the meat out and place it on the roof ledge right outside her room. Quickly shut the window again, shivering from the rush of cold air, then backed away to watch. Pine appeared as usual, and Olivia held her breath as the bobcat caught the scent of meat. The bobcat looked hesitant, then moved closer to the house than she had ever come before. Her nose in the air, she spotted the snack and after a few seconds of observation, quickly stepped forward, snatched the meat, and retreated into the shadows to eat. Joy made Olivia tremble. Her father always said not to feed wild animals because it would make them dependent and too comfortable around humans. But just this once couldn't hurt, she thought. Besides, Pine looked so thin, probably struggling to hunt in the snow. Olivia's next checkup went well, but not well enough to return to school. Dr. Hayes, a silver-haired woman with a warm smile, listened to her lungs with a stethoscope. There's improvement, but still a lot of mucus in there, she explained. One more week of rest. Don't be discouraged, Olivia. The body needs time to heal itself. As they drove home, Olivia could only think of one thing. Would Pine be waiting for her? It became a daily ritual. Olivia would save a portion of her food. Sometimes chicken, sometimes beef from dinner, occasionally a boiled egg from breakfast. She would always carefully wait until no one was around before cracking the window to place the food. Outside, Pine appeared regularly, seeming to memorize the schedule. Meanwhile, Olivia's health gradually improved. Her cough lessened and she could climb the stairs without feeling like her lungs would explode. Her parents noticed the positive change in her mood. She's definitely more energetic, Sarah told Robert one evening, when they thought Olivia couldn't hear. Less gloomy. Maybe keeping her home this long is better than I thought. Olivia smiled to herself. It wasn't because of being home. It was because of Pine, her secret friend. One Saturday afternoon, as Robert was clearing snow in the backyard, he stopped abruptly, staring at the ground. Olivia watched from her window, her heart racing as her father knelt to examine something. Footprints. Pine's footprints. Robert looked up, scanning the yard, then gazed toward the forest with concern. He took out his phone, snapped a picture of the footprints, then continued his work, occasionally stopping to look around. That evening, Olivia overheard her parents discussing in the living room. I checked with Dave Miller. He works with fish and wildlife, her father said. He says it's definitely bobcat prints, probably a young one based on the size. Not unusual for them to be near residences, but we should be vigilant. Should we be worried? Her mother asked, concern evident in her voice. Dave says there's no need to raise an alarm. Bobcats typically avoid humans. Just make sure we don't leave food out and keep an eye on children and pets outdoors. Olivia held her breath. Food. That was exactly what she was doing. Should she stop? But how disappointed Pine would be, and she would be, too. The next day she decided to place the food as usual, but more carefully. She waited until her parents were busy with their work in the home office downstairs. Pine appeared, seeming even hungrier. This time, instead of running away immediately, she stayed, sitting down by the maple tree and looking up at the window. Olivia took out her sketchbook and began drawing, showing Pine what she was doing. The bobcat tilted her head to one side as if curious. I'm drawing you, Olivia said, though she knew Pine couldn't hear. You're a perfect model. Don't move. The next day, when Pine came, she brought something in her mouth. Olivia stared as she placed the object beneath her window. A long feather, shimmering blue-black. A blue jay feather, a bird that Olivia particularly loved. You brought me a gift, she whispered, hardly believing her eyes. She could swear Pine looked proud as she sat down to wash her paws, as if knowing she had done something special. Olivia made her most beautiful drawing of Pine, carefully coloring it with her watercolor set and taped it to the glass for the bobcat to see. Their eyes met through the glass, and Olivia felt a connection stronger than anything she had ever felt with a school friend. An especially cold Tuesday afternoon. Pine arrived earlier than usual. Olivia was doing some homework her teacher had emailed when she noticed movement in the snow-covered garden. Pine didn't look well. The bobcat moved more slowly than usual, and even from a distance Olivia could see she was thinner, her fur ragged. Oregon had experienced a record-breaking cold spell lasting 3 days with temperatures dropping to -5 degrees. Perhaps Pine hadn't been able to hunt during that time. Olivia checked the clock. Her mother was on a video call with a client, possibly for at least another hour, and her father hadn't returned from work yet. She looked back at Pine, her heart aching, as she saw the bobcat shivering. "Wait there," she said, making a quick decision. "I'll get more food." This would be the first time Olivia had gone downstairs alone since getting sick. The doctor had said she should avoid exertion, but she felt much better these past few days. She gently opened her door and listened. She could hear her mother's professional voice drifting from the office at the end of the hallway, introducing some marketing specifications or something. Olivia crept down the stairs, carefully, stepping one at a time, avoiding the old, creaky steps. In the kitchen, she opened the refrigerator and found what she was looking for, leftover beef from the previous night's dinner. She took all of it, wrapped it in a napkin, and began the journey back upstairs. Halfway up, she started feeling short of breath. Her lungs tightened and she had to stop, holding the railing as a small cough escaped. She waited, took deep breaths, as the doctor had taught her, and continued on. By the time she returned to her room, she was breathing hard, but felt accomplished. When she looked out the window, she was shocked to see Pine was right there, not in the backyard or by the tree, but right on the roof ledge, outside her window. As if reading her thoughts, the bobcat had moved closer. Olivia's heart hammered. Pine had never come this close before. She could see individual hairs on the bobcat's face. See how her breath formed small clouds in the frigid air. Her eyes, deep amber, yellow, looked straight at Olivia with undeniable intelligence. Those eyes. There was something familiar in those eyes, not wild or fierce, but lonely. The eyes of a solitary creature seeking connection just like her. Without thinking, Olivia placed her hand against the cold glass. It was an instinctive gesture, a desire to reach out and touch the friend she had never been able to touch. Pine didn't move for several heartbeats. Then, slowly, the bobcat raised her right front paw and placed it on the glass opposite Olivia's hand. They stood like that in a perfect moment. The girl's hand and the bobcat's paw separated only by a thin pane of glass, a connection across the boundaries between their worlds. Then, things happened too quickly. Olivia's bedroom door burst open. "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be out of." Sarah's voice broke when she saw Pine. "Oh my God." Pine flinched back, her fur bristling with fear. "Mom, don't." Olivia cried as her mother rushed toward the window. "Don't scare her." Sarah pulled Olivia back, her face pale. "There's a bobcat right outside your window." "I know," Olivia said, tears beginning to well up. "That's Pine. He won't hurt me." When they looked back, Pine had vanished, leaving only paw prints on the thin snow on the roof ledge. "The beef package. You were going to feed her?" Sarah asked, noticing the package Olivia was holding. Olivia nodded, tears now streaming down her cheeks. She's hungry, Mom, and she's lonely like me. Absolutely not, Robert said firmly, standing by Olivia's window and surveying the yard outside. This is a wild animal, dangerous, Olivia protested through tears to hers, insisting Pine wouldn't harm her. Sarah sat beside her daughter, gently asking about the name. Olivia explained about the pine cold fur and pointed to the blue feather, a gift from Pine. Robert and Sarah exchanged surprised looks. Sarah realized this was why her daughter had been improving lately. Still, Robert decided to call Wildlife Services. Olivia burst into tears, begging. Sarah suggested calling Dave Miller, the wildlife expert, instead. After the call, Robert was astonished to report that Dave was very impressed with the bobcat's unusual behavior. No need to capture her if she wasn't aggressive. They reached an agreement. Olivia had to keep the window closed, feed Pine only under supervision, and report immediately if Pine showed any strange signs. She also couldn't tell anyone at school. That night, Olivia slept better than she had in weeks. Dr. Hayes was surprised by the sudden improvement in her lungs. On the way home, Sarah stopped at the grocery store and bought organic chicken for Pine. That afternoon, the whole family waited by the window. Pine appeared, cautious, but still approaching. Robert whispered in amazement as the bobcat sat down, observing all three humans. In the following weeks, a strange but comfortable ritual formed. Pine would arrive around 4 p.m., eat the food they left, sometimes bringing small gifts. Another feather, an interestingly shaped dry leaf, or once even a shiny pebble, that Olivia was certain Pine had taken from the nearby stream. In return, Olivia would draw for Pine or read aloud from her books, though she knew the bobcat couldn't hear through the glass. Sometimes she would just sit there, hand placed against the window, and Pine would come forward and place her paw opposite, a moment of connection that both seemed to treasure. When March arrived, bringing the first signs of spring, Olivia was completely healthy and back at school. But she always hurried home, knowing Pine would be waiting. Dave Miller, the wildlife expert, visited twice to observe this strange relationship. He theorized that Pine might have been a bobcat raised by wildlife rescue workers before being released back into the wild, though there were no records of this in the area. Or he said, sometimes nature simply surprises us. Some animals, like humans, are just different from the norm. As April approached, Pine began visiting less frequently. First every other day, then every 2 or 3 days. Olivia worried, but Dave reassured her. This is natural, he explained. Winter is over. There's more food in the forest now, and Pine might be gradually returning to her truly wild life. But will she forget me? Olivia asked, tears welling up. I don't think so, Dave said, with a warm smile. Bobcats have good memories. Pine might not need your help anymore, but I bet she'll still remember you. He was right, although the visits became less frequent as the weather warmed. Pine still appeared once or twice a week throughout spring and summer. Not for food anymore, but seemingly just to maintain the strange bond she had formed with the girl at the window. On a warm September afternoon, as Olivia was doing homework with the window open, Pine hadn't come for nearly a week. She heard a familiar rustling. Looking up, she saw Pine standing at the edge of the yard, and beside her was a smaller bobcat, a kitten. "Oh, Pine, see you," Olivia whispered, happy, tears welling up. "You have a baby?" The mother bobcat looked up at the window, and for a moment Olivia felt certain that Pine was deliberately introducing her new family. This wasn't a goodbye. It was a new beginning. That fall, as leaves changed color and cold winds began to blow, Olivia became Student of the Month in science class. With her presentation on North American bobcats, she didn't mention Pine. That was her family secret. But in her bedroom, she hung the most beautiful drawing she had ever made. A bobcat with intelligent amber eyes, one paw placed against an invisible pane of glass, connecting with a human hand. Sometimes, when Olivia looked out her window at dusk, she would still see Pine watching from the forest edge. Not as close, not as daily, but still there. A reminder that connections can form in the most unexpected places, even across a window pane and across the boundaries between worlds.